Right.
What's going on, folks? Jacob with Monkey Fab. We got a one of our injector harness kits here. So this is an entire kit with everything you need to build an injector harness for about 75 bucks. They're on our website. You're going to have to select which injectors you have. This intake right here is a truck intake. It has EV6 injectors. No, I'm sorry, EV1 injectors in it. So that's what we're going to be using. I normally do this standalone. This is going to be using our kit, so I'm going to do it a little differently and see how it goes. Do this step by step, go through everything we get in the kit here. So Mike takes his time and cuts out all of the wires. These wires are color coordinated as per the standard Holley harness. If you have a Holley harness or if you've seen one, the injector harness does not match the colors of the main harness. So if you are doing this from scratch, pay attention to which cylinder goes where so you don't make a mistake.
Don't forget to tell them we got a kit that is a cut to length, so if they'd rather just cut it to their own length, that's available as well.
You guys hear that? There's another kit that is, the wires are longer. You can trim it to fit, whether you have a blower or a different style intake or high rise or whatever. You need to move your plug location, need a little bit extra length. That is available also. You know what the price difference is, Mike?
I think it's the same price.
Same price?
Yep.
Well, can't beat that. Can't beat that at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by pulling these wires apart, and like I said, they're all labeled. So this group of wires here is 1, 3, 5, and 7, and this group of wires here is 2, 4, 6, and 8. So since this is kind of our mock-up intake, we've already taken the liberty of numbering each cylinders. You know, you should be able to figure this out if you're doing it on your own. Driver sides 1, 3, 5, and 7. Passenger sides 2, 4, 6, and 8. So I'm gonna terminate all these with the injectors on them so we can plug them in place, and that way we can kind of lay this out as we go and make it fit properly. We'll do this together step by step. You're gonna need some strippers, wire strippers. You're gonna need some crimpers. I don't currently have those with me in my infinite preparation. Mike's here. He's gonna grab some strippers. Not like female strippers, or no, crimpers.
Strippers or crimpers?
Yeah, we need crimpers.
The old,
crimpers.
guys?
Yes, sir. The do-it-all Delphis. If you're new to doing any of this wiring stuff, take a look at the pins. If you have ever tried to de-pin anything or pin something, it's pretty crucial to know if it's a pull to seat pin or a push to seat pin. And this is also gonna how you assemble it. So all of the EV1 injectors are a pull to seat. So you're gonna need to put the seal on first, like so. And then after you put the seal on, you're gonna push the connector down over the wires, because you're gonna wanna strip it and crimp the pins on, and then pull the wire down to seat the pin. So you have your common and your signal. It doesn't matter which side they go on, just make sure that they're all the same. So if you have the connector facing this direction, make sure your common is always on your left and your signal is always on your right.
Were you making harnesses by any chance, Jacob? I can't find a video about the lock and glue.
They were in the drawer, but not in the drawer. Oh, you're right here.
I won't miss you when you're not here today, so I won't have anyone to blame for moving everything.
Oh, it's gonna be
And I'll
rough.
just have to face the fact that I'm insane.
I have that same problem in my garage. I oftentimes want to blame someone else.
Put a combination lock on that door.
Yeah. Well, then you're out of excuses at that point. There's no blaming anyone if no one can get in.
Oh, you know, sometimes just gotta embrace reality. Where's my squishy voice? No. There you are. It's funny, these work so good on these 18 gauges, and they're so crap on those 20 gauges.
All right, so you're gonna do that to all 8 injectors. We're not gonna video this whole thing because there's really no reason for it. But that's what's gonna happen. We're gonna do that right there. And I'm gonna finish up with all 8 injectors, and then we will come back with it lined out and try to tape the wires up here and get them, you know, laid in place and go to the next step. And like magic, it's all done one side. So 1, 3, 5, and 7, make sure you mark the connectors. I just took a black Sharpie and drew a 1, 3, 5, and 7 so you don't get them confused. You could figure it out because all the wire links are different, obviously starting from the front. The longest one is the front. So we're just gonna snap these things on here. Now you already know where they're going to be, and you can orientate this however you want. A lot of people like to turn the injectors to the inside, or you can leave them to the outside, or however you'd like to do it. But this is going to be kind of temporary because we still have to put loom on it. So you're going to just kind of see how you want them. We'll turn it this way so you can kind of see how you want yours to lay. When you're laying your wires, try to keep all of your signal wires to one side, because when you get to the back and you splice them together, it's just going to make it a little cleaner and easier for you. So if this one goes to the left, make sure you know this one goes to the left, and so on and so forth, all the way to the back. I did take a little bit of tape and just cut little pieces of tape so that I can tape it together, you know, as I lay it out the way I want it, and it'll hold it in place for you. So we're going to just stick this in here. Remember, you got to put your loom on, so this is not a permanent solution. You can mark it with a marker or however you prefer to do it. Try to keep them uniform. If you measure, I took this piece of tape here and laid it out on the table, and I just marked every inch so that you can measure everything, and that way you can make both sides symmetrical. It may not be important to you. I kind of like it to be as symmetrical as possible. Granted, I say that until it's not, and then I'll just pretend like I didn't really want it to be. If you have a tape measure, you can also measure, and that way they'll be exact. Sounds like thunder.
Yeah, it does. It sounds like fucking...
Like the sky's about to fall.
Fuck outside just a minute ago.
Oh, wow. Did it darken up? I definitely gotta get Pete's card in here regardless. That thing is
supposed to rain or not?
All right, so you can see how that lays in there, and then you've got plenty of slack here at the back. And again, all of these commas are gonna get spliced together. That's what the step down butt connector is for. But I'm gonna go ahead and mark with a Sharpie here where the line is, so I know at what length you wanna cut your heat shrink, or I mean your loom. So when you cut your loom, understand that it's not going to go as far as it is prior to it being cut, because you know, it's going to expand. So it's laying flat and it's 10 inches long. Once it's round and stretched over the wires, it's going to be a little bit shorter. So you can always trim it if you need to, or you can always just cut a piece of heat shrink and put it on there. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mark this so we know. And then these are going to be your joints, where you're going to basically bring one piece of heat shrink over here, which is going to be the same size as this one, and then one to here. And then this piece is going to be a larger piece. Obviously, this will be uniform with that one, and then vice versa. So if you just measure your first one, all of them can be the same, and that way you have a good reference point. So I'll probably measure the first one and see how long that piece is, and I'm going to make it the same for every one of them. You're going to want to bring that heat shrink back a little bit so you can bring this piece to meet, I'm sorry, the loom. You're going to want to bring that loom back a little bit so it meets this one, and then that way when you slide the heat shrink over it, they both lay over kind of evenly and there's not a gap. What'll happen if you do have a gap between your loom, when the heat shrink is shrunk down, it's basically going to be larger over the loom and then smaller over the wire. It is epoxy heat shrink, so it does have glue inside of it, and it's not going to make that much of a difference. But you know, just take your time and pay attention to what you're doing. You shouldn't have any issues. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this apart real quick, and then we'll measure. I'll do this first one, obviously, then the second one, and then the second one I'm just going to, like I said, measure it and cut it the same for the other three. And then we'll go to the other side and do the other side. So we'll work together on doing this one, and then I'll do the other one, cut the camera so we can kind of speed this video up a little bit, and you can just get your basic understanding of how all this works. So what you're going to get is 1/4 inch loom. That's going to be for here to here to here to here, and then probably use 3/8 for the rest of it. And then in the back, I think it is maybe half or something, but we'll look and see. If we need to adjust the kit accordingly, we'll do so. All right, so the trusty razor blade is what I like to use to cut the tape. We didn't use very much tape, and it's not wrapped around, so you should be able to just pull it off. But if not, you can always slice it with a razor if you're super careful. I like to leave razor blades all over the shop because it gives Mike something to complain about. But he's since been incognitally telling me that not to, by leaving box blades everywhere. So with handles, I haven't caught on yet. This is an 1/8 inch heat shrink here. It's going to go on number 1. You're going to put this on first. Make sure after you put your loom on, and it's the right length, that you put your clear heat shrink on. Each one of these kits comes with a label for the injector, and you're going to be really, really upset if you assemble this and forget to put your clear heat shrink on, and then you have no way to secure your label after the fact. So I'll measure this out for you for reference purposes. This piece of loom that I'm using for the number 1 cylinder, and it's going to be the same for the number 2 cylinder, is 8 inches. We'll write that down so we don't forget. I'm actually, as we speak, I'm putting together a Word document to include kind of a guide, you could say. We'll put that down so we don't forget. As we go. Then Mike did the awesome job of pre-cutting all of the clear heat shrink for the label size. I'm not going to put the labels on at the moment. I'll come back and do that at the end, but like I said, we want to make sure that we get the heat shrink on there. That's going to be important. Oh God, there's a lot of stuff in here. Set this aside and get out of the way. I just want the clear heat shrink. Alright, clear heat shrink, that's what we want. There you go. Snap that on there. I didn't snap on there the first time because we were taking it back off, but I definitely don't want it coming off now, like that one just did. Alright, so turn this so you can see. So you want I like my heat shrink to overlap ever so slightly, and you just adjust this length however you want it to be, and this is how we're going to do it here. So I'm going to pull this off and measure so we know what that heat shrink or the loom length needs to be, and that is 3 inches. So we're going to take 3 inches on this one. You always want to try to burn the ends ever so slightly to kind of keep it from fraying. Don't forget clear heat shrink. And your loom. So she doesn't need to come off anymore, so you can snap it in there real good. Put your loom down. Now these two should meet up pretty close to there. Yep. So that's how it's going to lay. Remember I said 3 inches, so we can do the same. We can just go ahead and cut a 3-inch piece of heat shrink for both of these, and then that way it'll stay uniform going back. And then in between there, I believe it's 4.5 is what generally do, or somewhere in there, but I'll measure again on camera so you can verify. I'm going to cut those other two 3 inches so we can put them on as well. Shouldn't have to tell you again, but clear heat shrink, don't forget it. I only repeat that because I've done it countless times. Mike, how many times have you put stuff together and forgot to put your clear heat shrink on first? Never. He's full of shit. So as you can see, these are going to lay like so. They're going to be all uniform together, so we can just measure this distance here and we'll know where that other loom needs to be size wise, and once you heat shrink that together, it'll lay and stop trying to separate on you. Grab a tape measure and So we're gonna go with, start with 4 inches and see how that works out. This should be your 1/4 inch. And again, you want to make sure you put your heat shrink on. Remember, you got to put, when you put your heat shrink on, you're going to put it off both 1 and 3. You needed to cover both of those. So probably about 1.5 inches should be good there. Yeah. Give you enough coverage over the loom. This is where you want to try and line up your commons so they lay inside the loom together, and it's just gonna be nicer and help you in the end. You can twist it over inside the loom and it'll stay there. Got that, you can feed your heat shrink through, and you're going to put the heat shrink all the way back to that splice. So there's that one, and we cut that at 4 inches, so these are going to go together. And then again, you do the same 4 inches so that it is uniform all the way back. And this time you're going to want to include those front 2 injectors and then also number 5. So now your heat shrink, we did 1.5 inches. We're going to continue with the 1.5 inches. That's 1. This is going to be 3/8 boom on that back one. It's the largest. So on the back one, is where you're going to tie them together. So that 3/8 is only going to go a certain distance, and then you're going to tie in all of your commons to the 16 gauge with the step down butt connector. So bear in mind when you do that, keep an idea of how far back you need to go so you don't end up cutting it too short and messing your whole plan up here. You see we got plenty of length there, so we'll probably just run it back. I'm gonna just at the shortest common is where I'm gonna cut it, because that's where we can tie into, and then we'll add the step down butt connector. This is going to be one of your bigger pieces of heat shrink in the kit, is when you bring these two pieces of 3/8 together from the driver's side and passenger side runs, and you're going to put both of those 3/8 inside of there along with a piece of 1/2 inch, I believe. There you have it. One side is done. So we're going to cut this. I'll do the other side, and then we'll bring them together in just a moment. All right, so at this point you should have both sides done, injectors all in place, and then you should be left with this. It's going to be a little extra. You can trim that to fit however you'd like. You can leave it, whatever. I'm just going to make them equal. And remember, you need to splice all of your commons together. So I have my laptop over here, and we know that J in the pin here is going to be your odd commons, and K in the pin is your even commons. So it's important to make sure that you pin it properly. There's going to be the instructions basically put on the website if it's not already there. I'm not real sure. I didn't check beforehand, but it'll be on there. Remember, like I said, this harness for the injectors does not match up to, so this is a factory Holley harness. You can see all of the colors there, which matches this. I'm gonna grab the actual harness itself, the engine harness. So this is your injector plug, and these colors do not match. You see there's your commons, and then you have blue, orange, green, and over here you have orange, green, purple. Same thing on this side. You got gray to pink, brown to purple, blue to tan, white to yellow, and gray to black. So it can be confusing if you don't pay attention. I only know this because years and years ago I made this mistake, whacked those off and build my own harness, and lo and behold, nothing works. Anyway, so just be aware. The diagram, see if you can see it. So the diagram here, we sell those there on our website, and it'll tell you which colors get to that plug, but it might mess you up if you overthink it. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. We'll get back on topic. That's a little off topic. stand up for this so I can get a better look of the whole thing overhead here. So actually it's not bad. I'm gonna leave it like that. I think it's fine. I don't know what it looks like on camera, but I'm just gonna go ahead and leave it like so. Again, we have to splice these in, so you want to make sure that those splices are back in the back, and you can't obviously be any longer than your signal wires. So whatever your shortest signal wire is going to be as long as you can possibly make the harness. So we know I'm not even going to use it all, but I want to make sure that I get this step down connector up inside here so that it's kind of hidden out of the way. With that, you're going to use some 1/4 inch heat shrink to go over it. So we'll just slide this back. I'll use a little bit of masking tape to hold it in place so it's visible and it can be seen easily on camera here. Doesn't take a whole lot. And remember why I was telling you that it's important to try to keep your commons separated, because it'll just make for a nicer harness later in the end. So that's all our commons here. They're all separated, and here's all of our signal wires. So we're gonna do the same on this side so we can kind of compare lengths and make sure that we're not cutting anything too short. Like I said, remember, you can only be as long as your shortest signal. You kind of keep those even and matching there. And it looks like, and also with this 16 gauge, so it looks like we're going to need to, it's like right in there should be good. We can just cut all those off, and we'll cut all those commons off. And I'll do that first because it's just a better way to know that we're long enough. So we're going to cut all these commons off here. And we've got to splice back a little bit of extra length. We're going to shove this into that step down connector. You have to excuse Bob over there. He's having a fit like a child screaming. Yep, that's Bob. All day, every day. Alright, you're going to want to group those together, kind of twist them in a sense, and then shove them into that connector. You're going to make sure you get all those strands in there real good, and then crimp it down. Sorry, I forgot my crimpers here. I personally like these. They're that's what I use at home, so I have a pair of snap-on ones, but these work perfectly fine. So now your joint for the two coming together has to be just past this. So these two are going to come together like so. Make sure they're kind of even, and you're the heat shrink and loom over all that. Grab the heat gun real quick, we'll melt that up. You always try to want to get it in the middle if at all possible. That feels pretty decent. So you're all set on that. Now we know we want all these to end at this right around the same point, so we can cut all those off. Now they match. And this might be a little long. We can always trim this back. It's not a big deal. It looks like it's going to be okay just as it is. And I want to make sure merge these together to where they're about the same. We want them both to be in the connector at the same length. Looks like that's good. So remember, that's where our end of our insulation is, and then we have a little bit more. So we'll just save about, I don't know, ½ inch or so that we're gonna splice. Save our 16 gauge. Make sure you pull that aside. Don't get them confused. And their other step down connector, and do this the same way. Group them together. You kind of group them together in like a square. Give them a little twist. And make sure you get all of it in there. Like so. Good solid crimp. Something nice about this epoxy heat shrink is, for one, it is a 3-to-1 shrink ratio, so you don't have to fight with the size so much. It'll get down there, and also because it has epoxy in it, see, I misplaced the 1/4 inch. Where'd it go? Because it has epoxy in there, it helps seal up and hold the wires together and everything else. So it's really nice stuff. It's great for this type of application. Shrink that down. Now you can marry the two together, get them even again. Just double check your links, and then you can shear all that off together so that everything stays the same. Like so. Let's get rid of all this junk here. We're going to have to cut that back a bit, obviously, because we want them to be equal. So remember, we got one side that's, you know, obviously longer than the other. So I can just be careful with your wires when you do this, and you can use a pair of scissors to cut it back. Once you get a slit down it, it's really easy to pull it apart and kind of do it from the side. And then you're going to be putting your lumen heat shrink over that anyway, so no one's ever going to know. If you're careful, it won't fray too much. Of course, it's not going to work for me right now on video, but I'll pull it back over just a second. You go past it, then you slide the other piece on. So this is the other piece of heat shrink that's going to go on there. It's a little longer than I'm going to need, so we're going to cut it in half about. Burn the edges to keep it from fraying. So when you heat that up, it's going to pull these together. So you just want to make sure that you got plenty of slack, and then we'll put another one on the end. When we're going to heat this up, and we'll roll that back so we can strip everything and terminate it. Gonna let that cool off before we roll this back and strip down the rest of those wires to terminate into the connector. Before you do terminate it into the connector, make sure that those commons are in the right on the right pins. Like I said, there'll be a instructions on the website there with the pin map on it, or the pin out. So we want the K, which is going to be the far edge. It's going to be the even common, and J is the odd common. Once that glue's set, you just fold that right on back there just like that. Now all these are exposed for you to do all of the tedious stuff. I'm going to go ahead and just put all the pins on. This is a MetroPack 150 style pin. You can use, we sell some crimpers, we sell the Delphi crimpers. These here, this is what I've been using, and the seals. Just get you a nice pair of strippers. We like these. We haven't found these yet to sell, but we'll look and see if we can do that in the future, in the near future. Just kind of thought about it. We sell everything except for wire strippers. So I'm going to pause the video real quick and terminate all this. Hopefully everybody knows how to crimp. There's videos on the website about how to do that. But we'll be right back with that. All right, so that is your final finished product for about 75 bucks and maybe an hour and a half of time. I think it took me about an hour and a half, 2 hours to do this and make the video, so